Hello, lovely people. I wanted to do the whole video of this Tiguan in kind of one big block, but then I realized when I started to edit that the install already have 25 minutes, and if I'm gonna add all the RTA, it's gonna be another half an hour. So I decided to split it in half and do two videos. So the previous one, if you haven't seen it, if you jump straight into this one, the previous one was all about the install, how I install the system. And this is going to be RTA tuning, and plus I'm just going to do a quick review on the Audison Bitnov DSP software, because is this DSP that was in the system. So just a reminder, what we have in the system is it's stock locations, Volkswagen Tiguan, simple two-way active with a subwoofer, and the components we have Hertz Mini Legend 6.5 mini bass, tweeter in the doors, not in the pillars, and a very small Audison subwoofer ported. It's like, I don't know, maybe like 10 liter, maybe smaller. So you will see the response of it as well. It's a very small subwoofer. I think it's like 6.5. It's extremely small subwoofer, just to add some little bass. So let's have a look at the RTA. Actually, yeah. Before we do that, actually, let's have a look at this. So this is the software that is used for Audison Bitnov DSP. And previously in the Nissan, I tuned Audison Virtuoso, which was supposed to be like much better DSP. And this is Bitnov. So that's it, what you see here on this screen. That's it. There's no other settings, nothing else. So it has 10 parametric EQ per channel. So it's actually 8 EQ bands, and 2 here in the very edge corner is the shelf filters. So 2 shelf filters plus another 8 bands of EQ per channel, which is sufficiently, I want to say. Filters, you have only selection between Linkwitz and Butterworth, nothing else. And the frequency of the crossover that you choose, you cannot enter your own value. Oh, and the slope is either 12 and 24, and that's it. So for the crossover, you have to choose from predetermined values. You cannot choose whatever you want. Yeah. And one more thing, so it was in the very beginning, it was set on, where is it, working mode, standard mode. It was set on standard mode, and in standard mode for the tweeter, if you choose tweeter high pass, you cannot go lower. See, it doesn't go lower than 3K. So 3K is the lowest that you can go, unless you enable expert mode, which is I don't know. So working mode expert, yeah. So you can choose this. So that's one limitation. You cannot enter frequencies like every 50 hertz, and the upper range every 1000 or 500 hertz. This, then EQ. So EQ works in a way that you click, it adds an EQ band, and then at least I don't know, there's no way to enter the exact values. So what you have to do is either use arrows on the keyboard, sideways, up and down, or you just drag a mouse. So this is okay, I can work with that, this is fine, but the Q of the filter, the width of the filter is adjustable with plus or minus on the keyboard. So if I press plus, the Q is wider. If I press minus, the Q is smaller. And here at the bottom, you see the attenuation. So, okay, minus 4.8 dB. That's the exact frequency. So if I want to put like exactly 200 hertz, okay, that's the closest that I can. Either this or either 201. And the Q is defined by BW's bandwidth. So it gives me bandwidth from which frequency to which it affects, like this, but it doesn't give me the Q value. Now I could calculate it with like this minus that divided by this, because for example, if I use auto EQ function on REW, it gives me Q, it doesn't give me bandwidth. So basically all the values I have to choose in the DSP the closest one to here, the gain as well to match the closest, and Q is just pure guessing. So that's a bit of a bummer. And yeah, if you want to remove it, just press delete and it just goes away. So I ended up with very little EQ, to be honest. Oh, and another thing, like if you have an EQ and you have another EQ close to it, they cannot overlap. So you can get them close, but they cannot overlap. It cannot be the same frequency. And you cannot put it on the other side of the EQ. So similar to Virtuoso as well. Okay, so that's a slight review. Now let's go into the RTA. So first, I took raw measurements of the drivers. And again, so yeah, let's do one by one. So tweeter, left and right. So that's raw measurements. It has a slight peak at about 3K. And here is a dip. I think it's a reflection from somewhere. It's in the door. So I don't know. But it is what it is. And I have, where is it? Custom curves. Tweet. Yeah, so I did these with Jazzy's Tuning Companion, and I chose this target curve. So let me remove these. So I choose to cross it 3.5K, which is like a kind of a standard for two-way system, and the mid bass I'm crossing at 70 to the subwoofer. So let's remove this, and this. Okay, so left tweeter, that's full response. When I added the crossover, so I cut it a bit more, and then 3 bands of EQ. So in this case, it was this one, left tweeter, 4 bands, 1, 2, 3, 4 bands. So just tiny cuts, cut here, 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 and it's like this, it matches like this. So this target curve is a bit higher because it's for the sum. I was checking the sum. So that's left. Now right tweeter, similar peak with crossover, and then slight EQ just to match it, and level match as well. So there are like small discrepancies, but like if you add some smoothing, like let's add 1/3. There we go. Yeah, it looks very similar. And remember this, that this is a very simple daily factory upgrade. It's not a competition level system. Yeah, so as long as it sounds good, and it does sound good, everybody's happy. So that's the tweeters. Now mid bass. Okay, let's remove this. Left bass and right bass. So actually we can spend a bit more time here. Left bass, no, actually it's the other way around. That's the left, that's the right. Yeah, I named them wrong because this dip at 150 is the right one, which is in the driver's side in the UK. So this is just the wrong side. I named it wrong because I had to rename it because I closed the REW, then reopened it, and it was blank, so I just put random names. So this is the driver's side null. These drivers were playing down to like 40 and up here, so this is without any crossovers or response, or I put like crossover at 8K, I don't remember, something like this. So driver side, then, or is it, yeah, it's mixed. See, it's mixed, so it's this one. Yeah. So then I added some crossovers. So to remove this, actually let's remove the tweeter out of the way. There we go. Yeah. added the crossovers, the level changed a tiny bit, and then EQ. And after EQ, we ended up like slightly boosting this area, removing stuff from here, boosting this area as well. Ended up something here, so I didn't boost the null, I just left it as it is. It's fine by me. And then the left mid base, yeah, so it's confusing. So left mid base has a null at 450, which I don't know why is it there, but it is there, so that's a null. Sorry. With some crossovers, again, change in level, and EQ. So again, I think I tried to boost it a tiny bit, but I didn't want to boost it too much. And removed some here, removed some here, just to make it to look a bit nicer. And this is left and right mid bass after EQ. So the main thing for me was to try to match them as close as possible. So this I cannot do anything here, so there's a mismatch, and here as well there's a mismatch because of that null, but everywhere else it matches quite nicely, which is fine. And where's my mid bass targets? Yeah, so it's fine. It's just a different level again, which is fine. Now the subwoofer. So the subwoofer, as I mentioned, is a very small 6.5 inch. I think it's not even an 8, in a very tiny 10-liter box or something. So this was crossed, I think, at 200 hertz. And yeah, so it peaks at about 40. And then this is a cabin cancellation in the car. It's 58 hertz. And you cannot do anything about it, so it is what it is. And you can see it doesn't play low anything, 40, and that's it. So from the sub, I cross it, I think at 60 hertz or something like that, just to remove that peak. And then I slightly boosted this and tried to remove this cancellation. So I didn't use a lot of EQ on the sub, but it's just to make it a tiny bit nicer. And then I realized when I was playing that there was not enough subwoofer, so I had to turn up the gain on the subwoofer channel just to bring it a tiny bit up. So that's the subwoofer. Yeah, so we ended up with left tweeter, right tweeter, mid bass, and subwoofer. Yeah, something like this. So this obviously is a bit too much, so I had to cut it down again. Now, where are we? There we go. This. Come on. I don't have a mouse. It's only with the mouse pad. Okay, so checking the sum. Mid bass. Left and right. So I think I changed the level as well. That's why it's you cannot see it properly, and it might be a bit out of time because I did set the time with tape measure and then by ear, and I think these measurements were possibly before the time alignment. I'm not sure. I have a boost here, which sounds actually good. Quite how should I put it? Not beefy, but full-bodied. Okay, so this and the tweeters, just like that. That's the tweeter sum. So if I'm gonna double check with, yeah, there we go. That's the target of the tweeter. So if they do fall off a bit under like 2K, but it's fine. It's too low into the crossover. And the mid bass, yeah, just like that. So here again, this is the cancellation from one of the mid basses, and 150, that's a cancellation from the other of the mid basses. So you cannot do anything about these, but it does kind of follow, not that bad. And then the front playing together. Let me remove all of these mid bass tweets. So mid bass and tweets. There is if you look like with where is my overall. Yeah, so this is the overall. You can see there's like slight dip in the crossover region, which I could have fixed by overlapping the crossovers a bit, but I decided to leave it because system with a slight scoop out between like 2 and 5K in this area sounds a bit less harsh, especially like on a harsh or poor recorded songs. So it sounds a bit nicer, and I have this dip in my system as well. It's kind of intentional and non-intentional because you try to EQ to targets and you end up most of the time with this slight dip. But I'm happy about this and it sounds very good. And then that's a front. When I added the subwoofer, in the beginning it was out of phase. So I had to invert the phase of the subwoofer and you see the sum here. And then look at this one and then this one as well actually. If I was measuring this front end only, but then for some reason I have a peak here at like 1.2K. Out of nowhere it appeared and I didn't change any EQ. So I think it's just error in measurement. I'm not sure, but it's there. Yeah, here, and a slight peak here for some reason. I don't know why it appeared here, but it's not really audible that much. So front, this, and then I lowered the bass a tiny bit and changed the crossover. So because I thought it looks kind of following the target, but there's a bit too much bass. It's a bit bassy. And the thing is, like if you look at this, this is the all, and you think, okay, this is linear, this is fine. This is the peak out of, I don't know from where it is. And this, it doesn't look that much because it looks like from this line, which is 53, to this line, 61, it's like, well, 53, 60, it's like 9, 8 plus 8 dB only. So plus 8 dB of bass is not that much. However, you need to remember that this is 42 hertz. So if it's kind of following and you would follow down to like 30 hertz, that's like 10, 12 dB plus of bass. It's just because that subwoofer doesn't play low at all. That's why it looks like on this, if I remove the target, it looks like there's no bass, there's no rise, no nothing. But in reality, how it sounds good. So this is my kind of level, plus minus. Here again, this dip, it sounds good on harsher songs, especially like on metal and stuff. But here you have like plus minus 3, plus minus 4. Again, this dip, I don't know where it appeared from because like here, that dip is not that pronounced. So I don't know. And especially if you have like left bass and right bass, you see, maybe it sums up very nicely these two peaks. Yeah. So yeah, so this dip is caused by the driver's side null, and this one mainly on the passenger side, the 460 hertz. Yeah, so I ended up with this, and it sounds very good. Even if it's not perfect, again, just a reminder, it's not a competition level system. It's a daily with factory two-way and a very, very, very small sub. But for what it is, it sounds very, very, very good. Yeah. So this was the RTA of my latest install in Volkswagen Tiguan, two-way active, the Hertz Mille Legend two-way system components, small Audison sub, a 5-channel Hertz amp, and an Audison Bitnov DSP. Cool, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.